This Dr. Michael Joyner is the professor at the Mayo Clinic of Medicine and Science. After expressing unsanctioned viewpoints on sex distinctions and COVID treatment, and here's what they wrote about him. This most recent situation sheds light on a negative and unprofessional pattern of behavior exhibited by you for some time. You're thinking independently. We'll have none of that here at Mayo Clinic. That's what he should say. We'll have none of that independent thinking here. There'll be no logic applied to anything. Who do you think you are? Right?
Well, and as reported, by I think it was the Washington Stand that was reporting this. That situation becomes really problematic when you've got a contract that says you've got freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and we're all about, in the educational side of what we do, freedom to educate, and that's just not true when all of a sudden you are, prohibited from speaking, your conscience, and particularly when you're speaking, the truth, and so. When truth is no longer even, a defense, the country's going in the wrong direction. And so, I've still got an optimistic, half cup full perspective on this because, the American public is waking up to the woke culture, and they're fiercely standing for truth. And increasingly, they're doing it in respectful and in proper ways, and they're doing it in courtrooms, and they're testifying in legislatures when they're allowed to do so. And so, we're not done with this fight yet. This is America, and this is a place where freedom of speech and freedom of conscience.
Well, as you well know, William, in your home state of Michigan, they're trying to put through new hate speech penalties, 5 years in prison, $10,000 fine if you say the wrong things. None of this will pass muster in any court, even with liberal justices. I don't believe for a second that this hate speech crap is going to make its way through.
Michigan, Washington State. And here's the thing about those laws, Steve. Normally, if you've got a law like a bank rob, you can't rob a bank. Ahead of time if you engage in the conduct that you're committing a crime.
Right.
These hate speech laws, you don't know ahead of time whether what you're going to utter is a crime. The person may say, "Oh, wow, that was wisdom," and you've edified. I think different on that topic now. Thank you. Or the person can say, "Wow, you've intimidated me. I'm hurt and I'm harassed." And so, what happens is the conduct becomes a crime only after it is uttered and not before. And so due process in this country has, and throughout the world, has always required at a minimum that you give notice of what is a crime ahead of time. And so now we're going to make something a felony based on somebody's personal perception of what you said. And that's not going to pass muster, but it's going to cost somebody $85,000 or $100,000 to keep themselves out of prison and get it to the U.S. Supreme Court and have the U.S. Supreme Court shut them down. And so these states that are, passing these laws,
I don't even know if it'll make it that far. I mean, let's